So in fact, this is the setup now, isn't it, for the remaining morons? So where are we now? I've even lost track of the date. I think we're now Wednesday or something, aren't we? Time by my watch is just after midday, so there's where we are. I can 100% confirm that nobody from West Midlands Police has contacted me or attempted to contact me between November and now. So the only logical conclusion is they just haven't gone into our bit of the service. And when you consider we're in audit and compliance, and when I say compliance, I mean hard compliance, proxy violence via the state, getting police and bailiffs to come to people's homes, break down the doors and pull them out if necessary. If I'm saying I'm being denied access to police from November till now, that sort of tells you everything, doesn't it? So the current position they've got is we've got various people sort of declaring themselves immune from prosecution. So it starts with Southall, apparently. It's one of their quote-unquote policy to get police in. As I say, we evict people. My job is generally to make sure police are in attendance if someone's going to be potentially violent, hence having access to databases that oversee all our properties so we can try and work out if people are violent or if we sort of smear in their reputation by being unfair in case management, that kind of stuff, since I've actually done security reviews. So we're not actually going to defer to little morons in Birmingham playing with computers. Again, for the recording, I have literally no idea who Deborah Argentieri is. In 17 years in the court, I've never seen or spoken to this woman, so I'm not going to engage with any kind of absurd process she concocts when she won't get off her arse and go down to McGrath & Co and see if they can get a representative so we can talk about asset transfers and things between Birmingham and Scotland if the managing director is going to behave in that manner. So, a further day goes by. If the head of the West Midlands Police is apologising to activists in his time, someone may want to sort of tap him on the shoulder and sort of see why he isn't speaking to his own court service. And in terms of committee services, well, having worked for them for quite a period and having now got sort of a broad sweep overview of the policy of Birmingham, now that John Cotton has lost political power, can we have a look at prosecuting him for serious misconduct, given that he went along with David Gilbourne and allowed what is clearly who paid Chris Naylor is going to be interesting. Whoever funded his career, because you think how open Birmingham is to these sort of attacks at the moment. But it was set off by Naylor abusing corporate communications effectively in 2020. So until we can deal with him, the court service can't run. If someone like me is receiving those kind of documents, I can't pretend that I haven't received them. We've got no appropriate follow-through from the Office of the City Solicitor since 2020. Okay, there was a pragmatic reason for not doing that at the time, but you can't go on forever, can you? So their refusal to allow representation is both unlawful, absurd, and it's getting them into serious legal trouble because it just makes it clear that these are the sort of people who will just attack vulnerable people for money, effectively. So I'm extremely lucky that I don't actually have to do anything. I can sort of sit here, and just by existing, someone in Birmingham will say, "Oh right, hang on, what's happening here?" And things will start to move organically, and people start going to prison. It's not exactly a particular labour on my part. We've done the work. It's just burning savings and spinning my wheels while the cretins shriek and flail around behind laptops. But what should be happening is someone from West Midlands Police should be discussing various matters in Sutton Coldfield last year, along with the behaviour of Roney and Cotton and all these kind of people, because we need a departmental audit effectively. So the entire department needs new leadership, so senior leadership out, directors out. A lot of the people in the court service can stay because these are hardened professionals, they know what they're doing. Truncate the service so you've got a proper career for some of the younger people coming in as well, train them properly, give them proper authority as well. But it's got to be legitimate authority, so immediate intervention. As soon as the first bounce comes into the account, we're on the phone Monday saying, can I help you? Are you okay? And of course you lead the process from there. But what we're doing effectively now is someone like me is getting on the phone, we've done nothing, I'm expected to attack them, and as soon as I pick up the phone we're batting the stuff back, this is just garbage, we can't stick it through legally, and explaining this to the morons is just impossible, so we're backing physically out of the city till the morons are dealt with, but there are so many morons and there's so many dangerous morons that it's causing a repetitive feedback loop in the city, and they're just short-circuiting and behaving badly. But the only possible two ways of resolving it are, again, West Midlands Police doing their job. Again, I'm one of their course officers saying specifically, go and contact me, do it now. Have been for several months, and refusing. The alternative is anyone in the bureaucracy, so any honest person, and by person I mean an adult man with a professional reputation worth defending, should go into McGrath & Co and say, can we get a referral up into Scotland via possibly a GT Stewart branch or someone recommended by Holbrook, possibly, so we can actually get papers exchanged via adults and not these little morons playing around and doing strange theatre performances because they've got away with that as part of building their careers in Birmingham Strange. It is a sort of North Korea-like kabuki. I mean, the Birmingham stuff, in a sort of a historic perspective, is really, really creepy. Going into that room with all the political theory stuff and just witnessing that and just documenting it, getting it out, catching it, getting out of the city and just sitting here is quite surreal. They can't answer to it. And they think just sending a singular response is going to work. So they refused to engage the entire ACAS conciliation process, which really started when I was actually homeless, to actually get them to respond, so they weren't attacking me. That failed because I had too much money for it to matter. The ACAS conciliator just buggered off and left. But he went through the entire process to tribunal. The tribunal judge failed to respond and said, do you want to submit an appeal? At this point it's like, well no. We've gone past the point of absurdity. A physical human being is to walk into a Birmingham office and say, can you make some kind of electronic communication to Scotland? So in Scotland you're sort of plugged into the space age communication technology now. You've gone from fleeing the city with a bit of shrapnel and a plate to having a constituency office and a fibre pipe pumped into it while you organise with the security people, potentially the security people and the spooks, drone policing, that kind of stuff. You couldn't do it physically. Because again, one of the great benefits is the professional development did actually lead you to doing this kind of stuff, so you can prove to the department that you've been doing it anyway, and that you were paid to do it and just have been carried on. So you've bounced from project management back into the legal department. And we were entirely legally tearing us apart in Edinburgh. There's nothing they can do to stop this process because it's all in their databases. So they were playing with document service rules to try and claim that they didn't have to respond on whatever nonsense they're trying to do. But of course, the professionals just say, well, just copy it to various people. They can't do that. Of course, it's all timed and dated. It's all clearly organic. It hasn't been AI generated. All this kind of stuff. It's all traceable via bank statements, cameras, all that kind of stuff. So Yeah, as soon as the wheels start turning, the place just explodes and they can do nothing. Winston Green is going to be seriously full one. Serious adults gain political power because it's Birmingham's just drunk this cup of poison. You can't hang on to the country. It's so dysfunctional in Birmingham. The poison's just going to spread outwards very quickly. It doesn't really matter what he'll do. In the course of a general election will just be overwhelming. His hand will just be forced, and then it's getting serious people who want to start clearing the crooks out. But in the interim, it's probably wise if you are living in Birmingham to think about physical security. Getting out of there is probably a good idea given the current chaos. But Scotland is generally quite good because of the train. The sort of people coming here, you have to be quite prepared to do it. And from experience, they're too cowardly and sort of hide away. So if you are looking for a respite from the insanity, come here maybe. But in the interim, we've tried to end on what people could do to be proactive. So the moment, the problem is my colleagues just being dumped off by these idiots. I'm putting on this crap because people who are generally more vulnerable and weaker can't just sort of vanish into the thin air. As long as the morons are concerned and engaged in this kind of stuff. But it's sending police and along with solicitors to have a chat with some of my colleagues who've been tossed off by crooks like Cannon who haven't been doing their jobs effectively, pocketing money, all this kind of stuff. So once the proximal crooks are cleared out, new team in, they're properly responding to their court officers, we can get things stable and secure and not be impeding the court process, and get the city back under some kind of control, because it's not run on any kind of British legal lines at the moment, hence not being there. You legally can't run the departments, because when I say go and attack this person, I cannot be sure that that decision is now responsible and ethical, because the entire apparatus of the state is just so dysfunctional. You can't. The ethical decisions are being in the hands of people who can't make them, won't make them, and shouldn't be making them. You can't give them the background, be the sort of person who goes along with this kind of stuff just on that kind of level, on the self-interest level. But on a basic decency level, we're having none of it. So the people playing around with corporate communications technology of a £5 billion local authority, and then kicking off when people document this, make quite clear that this is clearly unlawful, can't do it, not allowed, it affects child welfare, that kind of stuff, and your court officers are telling you no, cease, you don't carry on. Right, so from the moment you carry on, you're then legally liable, aren't you? You're being told explicitly by the people in charge of security, stop it. So when we're doing it via the legal process, what my colleagues would understand, we do it day in, day out, it's like the water we swim in, so unless you're in that department, you're not used to that doing that kind of thing day in, day out. But that goes into the rest of British law as well. If you're in a compliance and money department, you're held to the highest ethical standards, and that means being selfless. So if you see something that isn't correct, you say something and you do something about it. And that even may involve physically removing people from the premises, which you're told to do as part of sort of day one training. Who are you? If you're around sensitive databases, if I don't know who you are, you're being removed. So the problem is, during pandemic, because we were locked, we went from these buildings full of corrupt people into the corporate communications infrastructure, everything was truncated, so you're suddenly doing the sensitive casework in a secure place, so people physically can't hear you have conversations with other human beings, but the organisation is truncated, so the departmental matters are now being discussed who've suddenly gained access and clearly don't be there. They're not intelligent enough to be there, they're not honest enough to be there, their jobs have no value or are negative, they're harassing my colleagues, they're causing compliance problems, they're attacking people, all this kind of stuff. So you can stay there and view that and take a step back and say, okay, if we're doing something now, it's going to cause a ricochet effect because the mob's going to kick off. But now we're here, Birmingham's lost control clearly, but the country hasn't. So we can have a look at law and order in Birmingham with Bolton. I'm sure it's going to be one higher on his list once he starts picking this kind of stuff up. But it's really the white collar crime that's caused the problem. So Cotton's statement like going beyond the law, that's not really how the law works. The law is supposed to leave you alone unless you've been a criminal, but of course it's been politicised, so he's now attacking people on behalf of the people John Cotton wants to use for political powers in a Platonist sense. So because of Gilbourne and Birmingham University, they're now clearly dangerous, so they're attacking young lads out at Broad Street and this kind of stuff, because that's the climate that's been allowed to fester inside the local authority because of the internal culture, which has had a predictable ricochet effect on compliance, because you can't evergreen a British polis. So when you make statements like that in terms of compliance, these people like that will be removed from the department. You know, I'm not going to do the job when they're there. So if the police of Birmingham in terms of legal proceedings wants to say, well, you have to, okay, well, how are we going to then deal with that? So they're not putting cases through to court quite clearly if they can't do the job. It's like you're employing a Scientologist to attack people, whereas in my case you're employing someone who's gone through the sort of training pathway that would legally allow them to do that, because you're making the correct inferences and pulling cases back appropriately. But I'm being held back by people who can't do that, etc., etc. So instead of carrying on, we'll leave that and send that off via the globally spanning panopticon communication technology that connects us between here and Birmingham. But just consider that the time prophesied by Orwell is clearly come to pass. You can effectively lay siege to Birmingham with the communications technologies. You think about this in terms of medieval warfare. We do now actually have access to Edinburgh Castle, and we can shell these morons from it. So that's the current state of, if you think about the current war we're engaged in terms of here in Birmingham, it's quite clear that they're losing, because they've done nothing from November till now. I mean, when they're refusing to bring Helen in, who's probably worked for free, I mean, it gets so stupid. It just gets so stupid. But anyway, yeah, so I'll leave that there, I think. So modern Bailey strategy with Edinburgh Castle is highly effective. If you want to come here and deal with Brummies, they're desperately afraid of you. Highly recommend.